Hey guys, welcome back to the Homestead fam. It is getting awfully cold here in Michigan, and with that means we need to start preparing for winter. It is now November and things are starting to cool down. We're getting into some freezing temperatures at night, and we need to make sure that our animals are all set, and not only that they're comfortable, but that we need to prepare for ourselves so that we aren't having to work harder and have to come out here multiple times a day in the winter just to keep them watered and fed properly. So I'm going to show you what we do to prepare our animals for the winter, and then we also need to prepare our garden beds for the winter. We are in the back half of our greenhouse right now, which is where our chicken coop and our rabbit coop are. However, in the front we have a luscious greenhouse going on still, and we are not going to touch that because it has no signs of stopping as of now. But our outdoor beds are all frosted over, they're dead, they need to be pulled out, and we're going to amend the soil a little bit. So make sure to like, subscribe, hit that little bell icon so that you don't miss our next videos, and let's dive right into it. First things first, let's start with the chicken coop, and as you can tell, oh, don't get out, buddy. As you can tell, this needs some TLC. So this is our homemade chicken feeder, and that works very well for us, and we are not gonna switch anything up with that this winter. However, this is our old chicken waterer, and we don't love this. It is heated, so it did keep things from freezing over, and we didn't have to water them every single day. However, we don't love these little nipples down here for the chickens. They don't love them, so we kept the top open, but obviously that's not ideal when they're roosting is up top here. So we need to switch that up, and we are going to get a new waterer today. Alright, so I'm going to come in here and just take this one down. The chickens are going to be curious as to what I am doing, but this is not working for us, so they will be happy to find a bigger and better waterer that's suited for them this winter. So we're going to take this out, and we can probably take this chain down now. I'm going to need some pliers for that because we will not need to hang this one, which will be super nice. So let's go get the new one. Okay, what we decided to go with this year is this new Pro Shine heated waterer. What I love about this one is that it holds 5 gallons, which is huge because that last one only held 2. So this will last us much longer. If it's heated, we will probably only need to water them every few days instead of every other day, which is what the 2-gallon did for us. So I love that. I also love that I can just spray this down and it'll be good to go. And again, I was saying how I did not like the nipples on the last waterer. The chickens didn't seem to love it, and they kind of struggled like making that switch over. So this one will fill, and they can just stick their little heads in here, and it'll just be like an open waterer for them. It also has the temperature control down here, and the cord is nice and long, so we can run it up the wall and outside of the coop. So this is the one we will be using today, and I will show you how we are going to fill it up and get it working on the inside. Alright, so all I'm going to do is I'm going to flip this over. I'll set this aside for now, and all I have to do is fill this bad boy up. So I'm going to fill it all the way up, and we'll go from there. Switch the setting. There we go. Alright, that was a lot of water, which is going to be super nice. So I'm going to twist this cap on, and then we're going to head inside the coop to position the base where we want it and see how this bad boy works. So the first thing I have to decide with this is where I want it to go. Make sure when you're putting in a heated waterer that you think about where your outlet is before you get it all set up. So our outlets are on this wall here, so I'm gonna just set it closer to this wall. It also helps that the door is right here so I can easily get in and out to refill the jug. And then for this, I am actually going to take this cord and bring it up the wall. I like to do that with any heated waterer or any heated system that we have, anything that's electric, just so that the chickens or animals can't really get it to it that easily and it doesn't get all nasty. So I'm gonna run this up the side wall here. Make sure this cat stays out of the chicken coop. And I'm gonna run this up the wall here. And then I'm going to make sure this thermostat part is facing the outside so I can easily set it when I come in. Listen. And then I'm gonna go ahead and put the jug on top, and we'll turn it on and we'll make sure the chickens love it. I'm sure they will, because they're, number one, gonna get nice fresh clean water every single day coming from the top down, and I think they will like this system of sticking their heads into a heated bowl instead of the other system that we had before. All right, so now I'm just gonna flip this over and watch the magic happen, I guess. We'll see how it goes. Make sure it's straight. Get this cat out of here again. Gets in there pretty good. Perfect. The water stopped. So that means it's not gonna just keep running and overflowing. And I already like this system. It's very sturdy, so I'm not worried about them knocking it over or anything. So let's now get that plugged in, the thermostat turned on, and we'll be good to go. Quickly, just wanted to show you the setup. As you can see, the red light is on right here, so it is nice and plugged in. And then I have the cord running up here, up the side, like I said, through to this wall. And then we have an outlet up here. So that's gonna keep it nice and tucked away from the chickens themselves. It's not gonna get dirty like that. And it's in a good position for me to fill and refill the water here and keep an eye on the temperature right there. With this system in particular, it will show you the temperature of your water. And then if you long press this button right here, you can set the temperature for where you want it to kick on. And then if you long press the right button, it will be able to set the temperature for where you want it to kick off. So depending on your area and your preference, you can completely customize this to the temperature of what you need. And let's see how the chickens like it now. I had to give these guys a little bit of space because I was disrupting their home and they felt a little on edge coming back in. So I gave them about 15 to 20 minutes and I was happy to find that they were loving the waterer. And I love to see that several chickens can get a drink of water at one time without them fighting each other. So this was a win. Alright, just like our chickens, our rabbits need heated waterers too. This, in the summer, we have like an automatic watering system. You can actually see this red bucket up here holds 5 gallons of water, and then through little tubes it will go to our rabbits as needed. But that doesn't work in the winter. It just freezes completely. It freezes the little tubes. So we switched to these heated water bottles, and they don't like contain as much water, which is kind of a downside. However, it's one rabbit, it doesn't really drink all that much, so we can still get away with not having to water every 2 to 3 days, which of course with all of our animals, we check on them every single day just in case something goes bad. But we try to make things as easy on us as possible, so where we can come out, do a once over, kind of check on everything, but make those daily trips out here pretty quick, especially in the winter when we are freezing as well. So we just fill these up. They have these little nipples at the end here, which our rabbits seem to enjoy. The ones in the summer are like little cups. And then it has the plug-in back here, and we will just make some extension cords and rig them all up to then go to a outlet up there on the ceiling. So our rabbits are pretty simple. Everything stays the same except we change out our waterers. And with our coops, they're insulated well enough for the animals, and they're really comfortable in the winter. They're out of the wind, out of the snowy elements, so they're really comfortable in here. Otherwise, it's just the water we worry about. Okay, as you know, we also have our beautiful sheep, and they are out grazing. We have a portable electric fence that we move them around in the summer. They're not quite ready to go into their main fence for the winter because they're still grazing. However, we will put them back into their main fence and start feeding them hay once the grass is all gone and the snow falls. Then they will get hay and their regular grain until the spring next year, when we'll bring them out and rotate them around as well. So for now, they're good where they are. We might be making them a more permanent shelter in their main fence. Hopefully it will be done before snow falls. If not, sheep actually don't need a terribly big insulated shelter or anything. They've been sleeping outside every night for some reason, but they have so much wool that keeps them warm, so we're not too worried about that aspect. They will have their portable shelter here. But other than that, they're good to go. I highly recommend sheep if you are new to bigger animals and want a bigger animal on your homestead. They have been amazing, super friendly with the kids, and very beginner friendly in my opinion. So next, let's move on to the garden beds. We did all of our animals, we discussed them, but our garden beds are next and they need some work. So let's do that. For our garden beds, we just let everything die off naturally, and then I'm going to go ahead and pull everything out so that it kind of just leaves the bare soil, trying to get everything dead, any fresh weeds that are trying to come up, and then I like to give these to our chickens and our ducks. They love pecking through it. And then anything we wouldn't give our animals, we will just compost, and you can do this if you don't have any chickens or animals as well. Just have a compost pile, and you can use this to nourish and amend your soil in the years to come. Once all of that is pulled out, we are going to start amending the soil. So this works for us well in two different ways. First of all, we have to clean out our chicken coop and our rabbit coop for the season to give them a nice fresh bedding before the winter comes. So I'm taking all of that manure and I am placing a layer on the top of our soil. This is going to add a lot of nutrients and in turn giving us a bigger and better harvest next year. Although these are the main things we had to do to prepare for winter, there is still lots to do on the homestead, so make sure to like and subscribe, hit that little bell icon so you don't miss the next one, and I'll see you next week.